So I'm going to share from the policy perspective and the system perspective, and then Camille's going to share also, system perspective as well, but she's going to focus more in towards the content. We're going to start up here and move down as far as the proximity concept goes. This is a draft definition of the revised NAEYC position statement, a draft revision, conceptual framework for professional development. This definition, the perception of it, the context of it, is that it's role-based rather than a program. So one person's in-service is another person's pre-service. Make sense? So what we're really talking about is a continuum. That was a nod.
Is that the next slide?
Yes.
Okay.
It is now.
I thought there was one in between. Go ahead.
Now, and here's just a slide showing the professional development journey that we've been on. When I started working on professional development issues 20 years ago, and I know, many of you have had, no, not many of you, you're all young, I know, but a lot of people in here have been working on these issues for longer than that. We were talking about activities and initiatives and had even more silos, I think, than we face now. We definitely still face these silos, but we built up systems in sectors. We worked on initiatives. We started with specific and focused activities. We're now at a point in time where we really have the opportunity to look towards integration, not just alignment, not just working cross sectors, but working on integration of systems. So when we say, oh yes, we have this training, it's part of our system, and it's open to everybody in the early childhood field, whether they be in Head Start or child care or early intervention. So what do you mean as we dig down into that? Well, it's on Saturday and it's free. So moving forward from that perspective of that's working cross-sector, not that that's not an important step, towards intentional integration of systems. I think we're at a difficult place economically, obviously, but we have some incredible opportunities that are happening right now while states are struggling that I didn't think a couple of years ago we would have at the federal level. So we have some chances to have some additional funds going to states through things like the Potential Early Learning Challenge Fund that offer the opportunity to really focus on integration and moving systems intentionally together forward. So I think it's an exciting time. And we're learning a lot more. It's kind of a confluence of factors. Apparently I do shake my hand. So when I say integrated state professional development system, I'm talking about a comprehensive system that has both, again, the preparation and the ongoing support. It crosses sectors and where children are served. Also involves the multiple delivery mechanisms, so higher education, community-based training, all of those pieces, coaching, mentoring, consultation, and that serves professionals both preparing to work with and also working on behalf of young children. So all of us that are in this room should see ourselves in the professional development system. If you're working directly in direct service with children, you're part of it. If you're a higher education faculty member, you're also part of it, the system. I'm sharing definitions where I'm coming from. We're, again, modeling some of the discussions that we're going to have. Hopefully it won't be a diatribe at your table, though, the way though. So here's a definition. When I talk about policy, I'm talking about policy that provides goals and procedures to guide decisions and actions, so writ large. Not just statutory or an executive law or order or regulations, but any policy that guides actions. And that's a lot of what we're talking about today is the policies around these issues. Now, whether or not it's in law or signed by Governor Quinn, right? These policies are, that was a nod to you all with your achievement with Gateways to Opportunity. Congratulations. But all of these are policy issues that will help you consider as you think about the different proximity issues. The project that I work for has created a state policy blueprint as a framework for discussion and thinking about policies that support and help enhance integrated professional development systems. These are the essential policy areas that are outlined in it. Professional standards is the piece that we're really focusing on today. You have a link in the resources to this document and other resources as well. I'm not going to spend time going over every single piece of it, but I'll just tell you briefly that when we say professional standards, we're talking about the content of professional preparation and ongoing development for all of those roles that we mentioned. We're talking about the requirements related to them. And when I say integrated, again, we're talking across all of those auspices in early childhood. Not saying that everybody needs to have the same expectations for them, as you're going to get into the details in each of these areas of what are the core capabilities, but there are some standards that can be set overall. And I know you have some of those already in existence here in Illinois as well. Okay. Here's a snapshot of state policies, just to take a look at in each of those areas where states are at. These are states that address them in statutory or in executive order. So financing, and when I say financing, I should just back up and say I'm talking about 4 specific areas of financing. And I encourage you to include some consideration of these areas as you're thinking about these issues as well. But financing in terms of individual access, one way we often think when we do system planning and trainings and workings, how are individuals going to have financial access to gain training or professional development. Financial aspects of helping programs help practitioners implement their change in practice. A lot of times you gain professional development, you hear stories about people gaining new knowledge, gaining skills and not having the opportunity to apply them because they don't have the support of new resources or the time given to them to be able to have reflective practice or the support of their leadership in a program, for example, to change that type of practice in play. And that piece is left out a lot of times in policies. That's been a big part of discussions that we've been having across the states in terms of taking a look at policies. A third area that we always think about is compensation parity issues. Always up front, we're thinking about compensation. As you have an increase in skills and knowledge, where's the compensation and the rewards that go hand in hand? I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, about principles in a minute. But the fourth area also that gets left out of policy a lot of time conversations about financing the overall system and what pieces come together to do that. You know, systems don't run themselves without some intentionality and planning around it. So those 2 pieces in financing that I mentioned, the program, the ability to change in your programs, and the financing of the system has been a lot of national conversation with states about how do you make sure that's embedded in your system policies. If you have any questions about some of these, this is just to give a snapshot. I welcome the questions either in the full group or also if you just want to pull me aside afterwards. This information is also available online, and you have a link to it where there's a state policy database that actually I'm really excited about because it has the actual statutory language of each state. So as you're considering or looking at policies in your state, if you want to see what other states have in place, you can literally click on it and see their sample language. None of it is listed as a best practice, but it's an option to take a look at how other states have addressed things. This is hold on Camille, one sec. This is policies and implementation if you look at the cross of it. There's a lot of states that have, for example, professional standards that are in place in practice. They exist, they're part of training, they're tying them to curriculum from higher education or doing an alignment in that way, but they may not have a policy that's embedding the standards in place. This is the intersection of the 2. So to me, this is where the rub is. If you have a data system that's in place, you have a registry that you're working on, but you don't have underlying policies in place that embed it, give it the capacity to continue to be supportive in your system, it might be something to consider, these 2 playing together. Does that make sense?